What's going on, everybody? We're back with another Sunday Talk. This episode 11, right? 11?
Episode, I think 11. Yeah, it's 11 now.
Already
Wait,
11
no, no, no,
Sunday
no.
Talks.
Oh, yeah, it's 11. Episode 11.
Episode 11, yeah. Already 11 Sunday Talks. That's freaking crazy. Got a lot of really, really juicy questions that I'm super excited to get into. So, yeah, we'll just jump right into it. So, our first question, Ben Simmons been talk of the town, talk of the country lately, just everyone, dumping on him. I'm certainly someone that is vouched for Ben Simmons on this podcast, but now it's really hard to defend him. I think, you can't deny like the defense and the playmaking, but it's just like it's not real. Like it's just not a great fit with Philly. It's tough to see his confidence, just drop. And I think he's someone that was this was like the centerpiece of a James Harden trade, at the beginning of the season. Now his stock is just plummeted. So that's kind of what we're getting into with this question from our boy Mason. Thoughts on the Warriors draft picks, which we have the 7th and the 14th draft pick for Ben Simmons to the Warriors. I'll let you get into this because I got a strong opinion on this, but you go.
All right, so I'm going to talk about the Warriors, and I also have another trade scenario that I just heard about that I think would make perfect sense. So we're going to talk about the Warriors first. I think a situation that would make sense, it probably is going to be a pretty decent trade when you think about it, but let's say something, let's say the value of him's pretty bad. Let's do the Warriors trade the 7th overall pick. I say they do a conditional pick in the first round, and a year or two later, they throw in Andrew Wiggins and they throw in Eric Pascal. So I think, and maybe Nico Mannion, you throw in another young guard, so that adds to it. I think how Ben Simmons would have to fit in this team, you got to run him at the 5, which makes it really difficult because you already have James Wiseman, or you run him at the 4 and make him replace Draymond Green, who you would see a huge increase because Draymond Green isn't that much of a spacer anymore. And James Wiseman is a guy who can become that kind of spacer. So maybe, you find a way. I don't know what the contracts add up to because I'm pretty sure Wiggins has a pretty hefty contract that would match that of Simmons. Maybe you send Draymond to another team for some draft capital, a guy who can still be a super critical franchise cornerstone on a championship team. I've been seeing people talking about how Portland would use a player like Draymond Green. I think anyone can use a player like Draymond Green, but me as a Warriors fan would hate to see it go. I also would love to see a player like Ben Simmons come in, have elite defense like Draymond Green, and also be able to, be super athletic, dish the ball out like Draymond does, and, really get that youth movement if we're going to be, in the end, running with players like, Jordan Poole, James Wiseman, and a Ben Simmons.
I love Jordan Poole. I mean, he struggled his rookie year, but he really, really came on the end of the season. He looked fantastic in some of this.
Exactly. And then if you were to have the 14th overall pick, a thing that we're going to be talking about in the podcast, we'll be getting into a 2021 NBA mock draft, looking at the players
that are doing my research, man.
That are going to be around there. You might want to go after, a guard like Trey Mann, who everyone's been raving about because we've seen what his brother's been doing so far. Or, you'd be able to pull it out and you get some guy like James.
Wait. They're brothers? No way.
Yeah, they are. The point guard out of Florida. Yeah, they're brothers.
Yeah, Trey Mann. Yeah, he was a big-time high school talent. No way. I mean, obviously the same last name. No way. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Trey Mann's a bucket.
Yeah, and then if not, you don't get Trey Mann. I think a guy who's really been rising with draft boards. You go after someone like James Bouknight, who's one of the best scorers in college basketball.
A
guy out of UConn, correct? If I'm right.
Yeah, UConn.
Yeah,
or my boy Jacob. Where's Jacob? But I haven't done that much research yet. Where is he in draft boards?
What was the first name again on that?
Josh Christopher Jacob.
Oh yeah. He's lower down the boards. Or you even go after Sharif Cooper, a guy out of Auburn who's been getting a lot of hype recently. Honestly, I've been starting to learn a lot more out of this mock draft.
He's not 6'4". I'm sorry. We talked about that in our Instagram chat. He's not 6'4". There's no way.
Oh, yeah.
That dude's got insoles in his shoes or something. I mean, no discredit. I love Sharif Cooper, too. He's one of my favorite, mixtape player. I mean, he was incredible at Auburn. I mean, I don't know how to pronounce his high school team, but his high school team with him and Isaac Okoro was disgusting.
You played on the same high school team and the same college team?
No, they missed each other in college. Like Okoro was like.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, because Okoro was one and done. My bad. But they went to the same college though. That's crazy.
Yeah, same college, same high school, dude. Their team went like undefeated. They were like the best team in
Okay.
the country.
Well, before I derail from this, talking about prospects, have you seen the 2020 Mountain Verde squad and how stacked they were? Cade Cunningham,
with Cade,
Scotty Barnes,
Moody.
and who is Moody, and they still
Yep.
have all these guys. The number 4 prospect in the 2022 class.
Yep.
They have all these guys. Like the worst player on their team was like 4-star, who's going to like, I think it was Purdue or something, like the 60th overall player. Like that is crazy. Just talking about high school basketball for a second, but
no, yeah, that Montverde is like one of the best teams. Like it has to be ever. I mean, they didn't get a chance to like really like show themselves. They didn't get Geico or anything because of COVID. But yeah, on paper, like that team is like 3 guys that are gonna go maybe top 10.
Top 10. Yeah. All right, but talk about the Warriors. Talk about Ben Simmons. What do you guys say?
Yeah, we back to our original subject. I love talking high school hoops. It's just weird. Real quick though, it's weird like for us now because like I was so huge into high school hoops. Obviously, while I was still in high school, so seeing guys like Trae Young, Michael Porter Jr., Shea, like all these guys like ball out in the NBA is like so even like LaMelo, like that, like dude, that's been like our guy like all of high school. Like seeing all these high school guys go off is incredible. It just feels weird now that I'm older than those guys now. Really, really weird, surreal. Anyways, Ben, it's tough because I think if you replace him with Draymond Green, yes, he's much younger. I think we can both agree a better player than Draymond now, even though they do similar stuff. But you just can't factor in like Draymond's connection and his chemistry with Clay and Steph. I mean, no one knows those guys better than Draymond. Draymond knows exactly where those guys are going to be on the floor. Whereas Ben might have more talent, younger, but you just can't make up for that chemistry and that time together. And I just think that you can't play Ben and Draymond at the same time because I mean you're practically running with a 3-on-5 on offense. It's just the spacing. You basically don't really have to guard Draymond and Ben. At least Draymond, has the potential to knock down a 3. Ben obviously isn't shooting it, so that would be really tough. I mean, defensively would wreak havoc. That would be incredible, and their transition playmaking would be amazing. But I think the half court offense would look really bad. So I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I think you'd have to replace Draymond with Ben for this to work, and then I'd be down to do it because I think, you give Ben that spacing, give him that shooter. I really just want to see Ben on a new team, because I still have some hope for him. I think it's just all in his head right now. If I'm Philly or Ben Simmons' circle, I'm looking for the absolute best sports psychologists in the world right now to help my guy, because you can clearly see, you're not passing up a wide open dunk because you think this guy's going to get a better angle at it. Like that, it's all mental. And I really want to see him get back on track. But I just think the 3-on-5 offensively and the lack of spacing, it just makes it tough. I don't know what was your trade package that you were going to bring up
for the Warriors? Oh no, the other one I was talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I already mentioned the Warriors one with like Andrew Wiggins and stuff, but the other package that I was thinking about, send him to Chicago. You do a sign and trade with Lauri Markkanen. You give him some spacing, or you don't even take Lauri Markkanen in the trade. You give them Kobe White, a really good point guard who, Carson, you've mentioned in the series where we went over teams' off seasons, doesn't really fit in the Chicago team. You put Ben Simmons out there with Zach LaVine, a much better defensive pairing, and you can propel them easily into the East with 3 All-Stars, Nikola Vucevic, Zach LaVine, and Ben Simmons. And if you manage to keep Patrick Williams and even Lauri Markkanen, or if not, you run Thaddeus Young out there, that's a really good team in the East. I think they're going to be – that's a Hawks kind of team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I actually really like that. Just the only – I got 2 things on that. One, I feel like it's just really – at first I'm like, damn, like all you're getting is Lauri Markkanen for Ben Simmons basically. But then I'm like, that's how much his stock has dropped, like to the fact that you're, picking up Lauri Markkanen. I think, dude, that would be perfect. I mean, especially like I would rather see Lauri on the Sixers because I think Kobe White is just like, I think you kind of have that player in Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
But Lauri would be, I think that would be a fantastic fit next to Embiid in the front court, and would, help their spacing so much. Yeah, that would be incredible. I mean, Patrick Williams and Ben Simmons defending on the perimeter. You have Levine, who, can take those shots, in crunch time, who's, really, really proven himself to be, he can go toe to toe with any scorer in the league. I feel like he's proven that the last couple of years. You have Vucevic, who doesn't, can get buckets inside. Great dump off for Ben Simmons if Ben Simmons driving the lane, and also, Vucevic can, pop from the three. Great pick and roll partner, which I think we all wanted to see from him and Joel, but just didn't happen. I really like that, and that would be like really solid defensively. I like that.
Hey.
Give him his own, and I guess it would be his own team, but like not really, because it's really like Levine's team. But like I like that fit.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that like would loom over him is you come to Chicago, another star coming to Chicago. It's always that Michael Jordan. Can they be the next great Chicago Bulls team? I think that'd be the only thing. But at the same time, like it's a small enough. I mean, it's a big market, but at the same time, it's a small enough NBA market franchise since the Bulls have been gone for him to be able to succeed, not in the in the limelight of being in Philadelphia, part of the process, the number one pick, the Mountain Verde legend, all that stuff. But also, going back to high school real quick, I just got super surprised. I'm 4 days older than Jalen Green, and this guy could go top 3 in the draft.
I know, dude. Remember when he almost came to? There was rumors he was coming to Modesto Christian.
Bro, that's crazy. He's also from Merced, California, which Carson, literally 40 minutes away from right now, which is ridiculous. So,
yeah. Real quick, one more thing about the Chicago. I think we saw with the Vucevic trade that they are in win now mode, even though they didn't end up winning now. And I think Ben Simmons propels that even more. And I think with the addition to him, makes them the team that, like you said, could actually, be like a top 4 or 5 seed and compete in the playoffs in the East. I think that if they made that trade and actually got Ben Simmons, that's the move that actually propels them. What I think they thought they were getting when they got Vucevic, what they thought their team was going to end up. So yeah. I really like that. I think that,
I think they would.
I'm in. And Lauri on the Sixers too. I'm all in.
I mean, I think Chicago to be the team in that, they have to keep Lauri, though. I feel like Lauri would be – so if they could get Kobe White to go to Philadelphia, or even maybe do a 3-team trade where they get a Kobe White. I don't think Kobe White and Simmons could work well because I'd rather see Simmons work the point there and then have –
yeah, Kobe would have to come off the bench.
Yeah, so, I mean, you could put Simmons at the 4 and then keep Kobe White at the 1, but that's just too many ball handlers. I think if you have Lauri, he's just going to sit there and shoot. You got – Patrick Williams going to sit there, shoot, drive sometimes, and be a lockdown defender. Let's say, that really, that'd be it's kind of like a Golden State Warriors vibe in a way where you think, you got your lockdown defender like an Andre Iguodala when they were good. You got your Steph Curry-esque player in a Zach LaVine who's going to be your dominant scorer, and then you have your Draymond Green with your as your Ben Simmons role.
Ben Simmons, yeah.
It's a little bit different because like Nikola Vucevic would be like almost like a Klay Thompson hybrid with like Lauri Markkanen. I don't know. I think if the Hawks are at this point where they're already in the Eastern Conference Finals, why can't the Bulls?
I see the vision. You're reaching a little bit, my guy, but I do see the vision.
You always gotta compare. I mean, honestly, there's super reaches in that, but I think in the East, anything's possible.
Yeah, no, I agree. That Chicago team would be very intriguing. I would love that actually. Okay, so next one, big tangent, but it's okay. Next one, Game 4 thoughts. So we're just gonna unpack. We would probably do this on another episode anyways, but we're just throwing this into the Sunday talk. We're gonna unpack Game 4. I'm gonna start off with my first point, and we gotta give a big love fest to DeAndre Ayton, who was phenomenal. I mean, he was the best player of that game. He was the best player on the floor of that game. He was the MVP. I mean, just incredible, man. I mean, like offensively, I never see this guy take a bad shot. He always lets the game come to him. He never forces shots. I mean, that's contributing to the fact that he shoots like 70%. This playoffs, ridiculous. It seems like he's always like 10 for 13 or like 10 for 14 or like 11 for 15. It's ridiculous. Great offensively, beast on the boards. I mean, it seemed like this guy was like grabbing every rebound. And
Nine offensive rebounds.
9 offensive rebounds and making the Clippers pay for small ball, basically forcing them to play Zubox. And just defensively too. I mean, 4 blocks, felt like he had like 10 blocks, altering a ton of shots. And then, even when he got out on the perimeter, you never really saw anyone blow by him. He kept everyone in front of him, funneled them to help side. Just he played like all around, just like a beautiful game, and really like the main reason why they won, because Booker, Paul, obviously their free throws late were super clutch, but they both really struggled. We're having a hard time. I mean, Ayton was phenomenal. This was the best game. He's had a lot of great games this playoffs. He's really just went up a level, but this was his best game. He was fantastic. I mean, it was amazing to watch. Like, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. So I'll just add on to it. I mean, like you're saying, if Aiden even goes beyond the box score, he had the highest plus minus out of the game with a +8. And that's not that high. This game was 84-80. There was not that much scoring. If there was more scoring, his box plus minus would have been a lot higher.
This was a very like old school game. This was like late 90s, like early 2000s, like type of playoff game, which I know a lot of people will probably hate on, but I was like enthralled with this game. It was super competitive. I actually really enjoyed it. It was a nice change of pace from what we usually get. I mean, obviously I want to see all the buckets and stuff, but this was just like a cold, like fight to the death, like just clawing it out. Like it was grueling, but it was like entertaining at the same time.
And it came down to the wire. And like you said, the shooting percentages were terrible. 36% from the Suns, 32.5% from the Clippers. But like you're talking about,
there was a lot of rebounds to go around.
Yeah, 59 by the Suns, 51 by the Clippers. You did not see that in the NBA a lot of times. But no, just continually looking at this game. I mean, Devin Booker fouled out, but still had, he scored a lot of points. He didn't really be efficient with it. So, but Chris Paul still brought his best game for being injured. But again, those two guys they shot 44 shots combined and made 14. That's not going to get you a win in the playoffs, especially if they go against a team like the Bucks or the Hawks. They're not going to be able to beat them if they're shooting that terribly with the offensive talent on both sides of those teams. But otherwise, Mikal Bridges also played a really solid game, was able to get 13 rebounds, 2 steals. Also played some good defense, holding someone like Paul George to 5 for 20 shooting. But then again, Paul George has not played well the last 2 games, if I'm correct. I think he's been really bad on his 3-pointers, which is something he needs to look at. Some players that I think should be playing more. Luke Kennard, like you mentioned, he hasn't played enough. He had the best plus minus. He had a +5 on the team, didn't play. And even Terrence Mann, I mean, they're running at the small ball team so that they can have someone out there to guard Devin Booker, but I don't know about it. I mean, maybe small ball is the way. Maybe they have to force Ayton to be in that Rudy Gobert role. I mean, they're not going to be able to shoot the 3-pointers to the efficiency that they were in that Game 6 versus the Utah Jazz in the quarterfinals, but they got to see – I mean, the semifinals, but they got to see what they can do. I think going into Phoenix for this next game, I want to lock it in that the Suns make it to the finals next game. I think it's pretty straightforward. They have all the riding on them, and they didn't even get the best games out of their best 2 players. But like you're talking about with stretches, the biggest stretch that I did here, I mean, obviously Ayton played a great game. It's a little bit of recency bias, but they compared him to David Robinson there on SportsCenter at the end. But this guy's going to be a top 5 center next season, though, so I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, I mean, the David Robinson, definitely. Like, definitely a low stretch right now, just because, the recency bias. But I mean, he did. I mean, it's well earned because he had a freaking incredible game. I mean, he was basically flawless, in all aspects of the game. He played just such a well-rounded game. I think, when you compare him to guys like David Robinson, Hakeem, those guys, I think offensively he's just much more limited. than, much more limited than those guys. But I think just like the defense, the rebounding, it's all just like super, super high level. And you're right. I mean, this guy's going right into, that top 5 center. I think it's going to be, Jokic, Embiid, and then for like, the third best center, it's like, it's going to be tough, like not to argue for Ayton, and then, yeah, talent in these next few years, it's going to be hard to not, vouch for Ayton, just the way he's been playing, this the level he got to. Yeah, I agree with you. Like Game 5, I mean, you're going back to Phoenix. I don't think that, Booker and CP3 shoot that terribly at home. I think a lot of it was just, they're super tired. The Clippers played great. Both teams played incredible defense. I mean, that's why we got such a low-scoring game. I think it was a combination of really, really good defense and also just like really, really tired guys. Just I think both sides. I mean, there was no easy shots, and the Suns. I mean, Crowder and Payne, played pretty poorly. Didn't really get much out of them. But I think one thing I want to mention real quick that I really want to see in that Game 5, I think is going to be a big factor in, the Suns getting that win, like you said, at home, is just picking up the pace, man, because like, I think they let the Clippers off the hook slightly, when they don't play with that same upbeat pace that they usually do. I think in the first half, that's like really like what won them the game. I mean, the first half, they, you saw early that they picked up the pace, they get a lot of points in transition, just a lot of quick baskets. And I think, that's kind of how they staged that comeback the Clippers did in the second half, they weren't playing with the same pace. But I think if they just pick it up, don't play it as slowly, like that's really like the key for them. I feel like, in this next game. And if, they continue Game 6 and Game 7. And then the free throws too. I mean, the Suns are like an incredible free throw shooting team. I mean, they got into like
the Clippers were bad.
Yeah, and the Clippers were really bad, like 65% bad. They got into like basically like a penalty kick shootout at the end. Just like, your free throws versus my free throws, and they shot 85%. And that was like, I feel like the stretch they had in the second quarter where they had that big time run, and then the free throws at the end were like two of the biggest reasons why they ended up winning that game. So, you got anything else?
Nah, I think we just got to wait till tomorrow night. It's going to be an absolute banger of a game, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Going to be rushing my butt home from work to watch that game.
I know. I'm so excited. All right, next question. A great question, by the way. Like one of my favorite questions I think we've gotten so far from our boy Chase. Do sports analysts like Stephen A. and Max have that much control over public opinion on players? Great question. I love this. I'll let you go first because I got a lot. I'm sure you have a lot too, but
yeah, I mean, my boy Chase, he hit the nail in the coffin here. I think when you talk about players, like they can say whatever they want. Like they're going to have people have all these opinions of these players that are just out of this world. I mean, let's talk about a guy like Stephen A. Smith, who came out the other day, and we were talking about this on the pod, I believe, a guy who I love so much ever since his rookie season. I went to one of his games. Donovan Mitchell, he called him the best player in Utah Jazz history. I want to remind you guys that, despite his allegations, Karl Malone and John Stockton are much better than him all time. I even would put Mark Eaton above him all time. There's a lot of guys that put above him all time because he hasn't played enough games yet to solidify himself with that. And now everyone thinks, like they're going to overrank players and such like that. Sports analysts, people just take what they say and don't really like digest it. They just they take it straight down, just go straight down into their heads, and they take it how it is. I think, these opinions of them, because they're the guys that you look for. I think, when you become, you're a casual sports fan when all you do is hear from these sports analysts and what they have to say. But you really become a real fan when you dive into the analytics and see, man, like this guy isn't really that good. Like
watch the games. That's it.
Exactly. Watch the games. See, all game shows everything. Actions are more powerful than numbers in this situation. So, I mean, even like a guy like Tatis, I thought Tatis was some amazing fielder until I realized he was terrible at it because all everyone talks about is how hyped up this guy is. And, even public opinion.
All you see is the flashy plays and the backhand dives and whatnot on Sports Center. But yeah,
yeah. And then just finishing it off real quick, even on media, there's players that are controlled that like they always focus on, go on MLB there's going to be a Tatis home run or a Vladdy home run because those are the favorite people right now that can gravitate the most box office. When LaMelo Ball went out and then LeBron wasn't playing, they went back to Zion Williamson. That's because that's how it rolls. There's always a rotation of people. Patrick Mahomes is always going to be on NFL, Instagram, no matter what happens, even if someone like a lesser Matthew Stafford playing in Detroit is doing the same things. I mean, it's how media is. That's why, smaller people like us, we got to be the ones to tell you guys that, there's players out there that are doing just as much. And you got to realize that some of these big name players are a lot more, overrated than they are is these great players that people like Stephen A., Max Kellerman, and a guy that I really love in Colin Cowherd that I watch a lot about,
I love
because
Colin. Even though Colin has some like outrageousness, I like he does have some really good takes sometimes. And
yeah.
I love like some of the like not skit segments he does.
Yeah,
he has some really like creative segments.
He's a super creative guy, but I mean, like this man dick rides the
Yeah.
fuck out of Sam Darnold. Like, bro, like I want Sam Darnold to be good, but like
he hates Baker. He hates Baker.
Oh, and he hates Baker, but Baker's a winner. He's a Jimmy Garoppolo plus. So
yeah, exactly.
Why hate on a guy if he's winning games? I mean, you can build a team around a quarterback where all you have is the most elite running game in the NFL. I mean, they don't even need Odell Beckham on that team, and they're going to be contending for a Super Bowl this year. But I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, no, you made some really good points. I think one thing, it's even like, with analysts like Stephen A. Smith and Max, I think, like Tim Legler is a guy that I love seeing after these ESPN games, who just breaks down film really well. He gives it to you straight up, but that's not popular. Like in today's sports media, it's like, you don't want to see, just like here's what's going on and like explaining it. It's like there's always like kind of the clickbait and like just saying stuff like I saw Stephen A. Smith say like, oh, like Devin Booker's like the next Kobe. Like obviously like Booker has like some Kobe in him. He has great footwork. He's got the fades. He's got incredible touch. Obviously because he that's his idol. He grew up watching him. He's obviously going to have a little bit of Kobe in him. But I mean, it's like you can't. And it's like the Donovan Mitchell thing too. It's like maybe like talent-wise, you can maybe throw him up in there with those two legends, but it's like, yeah, what are you talking about all time? Like, I mean, he hasn't even gotten to a finals yet. At least, those two got to a couple finals and they were super consistent for so long. So I think for the general fan, I think guys like Stephen A. Max, I think they do have a lot of public opinion because, that's all you see. You see them all over social media, your TV, you see their clips on YouTube. They're very loud and they can create narratives that may not be true, but they just get people talking and discussing, which in turns, usually kind of ends up being like the narrative for that player. Like, like an example, like if, both Stephen A. and Max, say this certain player is, lazy, even though he might not actually be, if you actually watch the film and see how this guy plays, maybe, he actually tries on defense and whatnot. Everyone's going to talk and discuss, over and over again because, it's just everywhere that this guy's lazy, and that ends up becoming the narrative just because everyone's just saying it, even though it might not be true. But I think for, guys like us and, if you just, watch the games, a little bit more knowledgeable than the average fan. I don't really think so because I think you can really differentiate. You can tell when these guys are, making kind of like clickbait moves. You're just trying to, say stuff to get people discussing. And I think you're able to see, the takes from guys like that and really just agree or disagree or see like, oh, like, come on, like this is like blasphemy, and you're able to base your own opinions just by watching the games, honestly. And it is, you're exactly right, bro. They have a ton of, public, they shape narratives on a lot of players. And when, it's just on you to choose to, agree with them or not. It's really just like you agree or disagree and, that's it. But you should take those guys because like guys like that, like they have a lot of different sports to cover. So they know a lot, like they know a little bit about each little thing, but they're not like, experts on like one certain thing, like you just have to take like guys like that with a grain of salt,
Exactly. Like I can't go out here and say I know everything about baseball because I don't, because that's not my sports. Like I can say I know enough about basketball. I probably know the most about basketball and then second football. But like if I start going to other stuff, like I'm probably gonna start saying some bullshit that like it's not gonna make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, I played baseball for a long time. Like I know like the ins and outs and whatnot. But I mean, I don't keep up with it enough to give you like a strong, strong facts and statements on whether certain guys are good or not. Like I just don't follow it enough like I used to. So, but yeah, this was a great question. Shout out Chase, man. And we got another question from Chase. At what point do Dame's teammates start to take accountability for becoming better players? Shots at the whole Portland organization, the whole roster. I don't really think it's necessarily his teammates being better. I just don't really think they have the talent. Like when I look at the roster, like I just don't look at them and see like a final. They're exactly what they've been. I see them as like a first or second round exit with, if a few key players like this playoffs, like, if like, a top player gets injured here and, a few breaks and, maybe Dame can go on like this like legendary run to get to the finals or something. And, that's, not out of the realm of possibility, but I just don't really look at this Blazers team and see, a final, and it's, because I think there's still a lot of talent on this roster. I mean, I love Norman Powell. Obviously, you got CJ, but I just don't really see a contender with this team.
Yeah, I'm going to read you some stats real quick. 20 and a half points, 13 and a half rebounds, and 4.2 assists. 2 blocks and a steal and a half. What NBA player do you think first 36 numbers that are?
Okay, one more time.
20 and a half points per game, 13 and a half rebounds, 4.2 assists, 1.3 steals, and 2 blocks a game. Would you consider that player to be an elite player?
Per 36?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great numbers.
That's
Is he on the Blazers?
That's Yusuf Nurkic. If Yusuf Nurkic was playing 36 minutes a game in his 2018-19 season when he played 72 games, 27 minutes a game that year. I think they had Enes Kanter on the roster. A guy who's a super talented big man. Let's not get it wrong. There was a serious debate whether or not to have him or Nikola Jokic in Denver. I mean, I'm going to be a guy. I thought they should have kept Yusuf Nurkic at the time. I thought Yusuf Nurkic was a fantastic big man. And, lucky for them, they didn't. They cut the guy who just won MVP.
You would have been fired from the GM spot.
I would have been fired from the GM spot. But, I mean, even in 2019, 2020, when he only played 8 games, he played 32 minutes a game, averaging 17 and a half points, 4 assists, and 10 rebounds. Where's this Yusuf Nurkic when we need him? He's not healthy. That's the problem. I mean, he's a guy who should be delivering at an all-star caliber at the center position. I think he should be a guy. Why can't he be a top 5 center? What's holding him back? He's slowly developing a jump shot, but it's just blasphemy to see a guy like him not bring it to the table. And then don't get me started on CJ McCollum. Honestly, he's a frail guard. And I mean, he can't create to the level of a guy like Damian Lillard. And then if I can look up at his playoff stats, I know it was just horrendous this season. I mean, yeah, so we'll look at
it. It was bad this first round.
Versus Denver, let's just dive into it. He played 40 minutes a game, only averaging 20 points on 44% shooting and 33 from 3. A guy who had a historic shooting season, I believe, in the what season was that? I think it was in 2016.
He was red hot to start the year this year, and then he got injuries, but he was having a crazy season.
He had a crazy true shooting percentage, if I can find what it was. I don't know. He's a good shooter, though, and that's the fact. He wasn't doing that. And they got rid of a guy in Gary Trent. Actually, I know they got Norman Powell, but Gary Trent was playing ridiculous. I think it just doesn't make sense. I think there's a lot of things. I don't think Terry Stotts is the reason. I think Terry Stotts might be a little bit of an overrated coach, but if they're winning games, what's the problem? I think you gotta blame the GM at some point if they're able to bring enough talent in around him. But at the same time, the people on the roster aren't playing up to the, it's on them. Why can't Zach Collins become the project? He's been able to be a project label for the last how many years he's been in the NBA because he's always been one. So, it might be time for them to get rid of Dame. I don't think this roster can go anywhere with it, and I think it's time for Dame to move on. As much as he's been a loyal player, nobody in Portland should burn his jersey because he did everything for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just, there can only be one champion. And there's just a lot of teams. It's just like, obviously everyone, thinks they're like a move or two away from getting in that finals. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of teams that are just in that that mediocre space that, are going to the playoffs every year, but they're losing the first, second round. I mean, those teams have to exist. Like it's sad for, I was just in Portland a few days ago. It's sad for the, Portland natives, but it's just like the reality. And, you brought up Nurkic, who, just like you said, just showed incredible flashes. I think half of it is just really unlucky that, he just hasn't been able to stay on the floor like they've been hoping for. And I think half of it's just like, just really like waiting too long on him because, I feel like we've been saying, oh, just wait till the Blazers get Nurkic healthy. I feel like we've been saying that for like 3 years now. And I think, with Portland, I think they were just kind of too afraid to make like a big move, like either dealing CJ or dealing Nurkic, while he still had a lot of value to potentially improve your team. To maybe those, players get you a guy that, bumps you up to finals contention. But it's unfortunate. Yeah, like you said, no one should be burning Dame's jersey. Did all he could, some just come up short. They had good teams, not great teams. And I think, like we said, you look at this roster and it's like, just don't really see a finals contender, even though there's still a lot of talent. This is a team that will win a lot of games if they, kept the same roster. So,
Hey, one more thing I want to go through real quick. Talking about, them competing, the Blazers. I'm going to name through Western Conference teams, and you tell me next season who you would rather like have.
Okay.
Utah Jazz.
So everyone, like we're talking about like same rosters, right?
Same roster, barring there's no injuries, Utah Jazz.
Yeah, I'm taking the Jazz just because defense. Oh, for sure, Suns.
Nuggets.
Yep.
Clippers, assuming Kawhi comes back.
Yep.
Mavericks.
Because of Luka, yeah. But that one's close though, because I think those two teams like right now are like pretty close together. Just because obviously like Luka, like generational talent, but I think I don't know. Like what if you switch? Like what if you put Luka on the Blazers? Like how much better do you think they'd be?
Yeah, exactly. But whatever. We'll say move on. Lakers healthy.
That one's 50-50. Yeah, doesn't matter. Next
Lakers,
one.
Lakers healthy.
Taking the Lakers.
Grizzlies. Better supporting cast, in my opinion. I'd rule with them, but whatever you think.
Blazers, but obviously, but ask me again in like 3, give the Grizzlies like 2, because I think the Grizzlies are just like a sleeping giant. Like I think in the next like 2-3 years, like they're gonna be like don't fuck with them. Like already they're they're showing that like they're kind of laying the groundwork for like potential contenders. It's like take your lumps. They took their L this year. I think they're gonna come back and maybe get a higher seed next year. Like they're gonna be scary in a couple of years. Yeah. I think right now, probably still take the Blazers.
Warriors with an 80 or 90% Klay Thompson.
Warriors.
Pelicans with competent coaching.
Blazers. Just because I don't like the BI Zion fit. I think they need to do some major roster construction.
Okay, but still, so we have the Warriors, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Suns, and the Jazz that you would rather pick over them, with question marks at the Grizzlies. And yeah, the question marks at the Grizzlies and the Mavericks, which could still probably contend with them in a series. I think.
Yeah, the only definitive one I would say out of all those is the Pelicans.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like you got Zion, like the potential's there. Like, yeah, Memphis and Dallas are like close.
Exactly.
I don't know, what about you? Like, if I asked you the same teams, like, would you probably have the same answer? Would you change anything?
No, I might have been more sure on the Grizzlies at this point. I think the Grizzlies should beat them. Give them next year. You got a team of, you got Dylan Brooks.
Defense, man. The Grizzlies play like the Blazers play no defense.
John Morant, Jonas Valanciunas would whip whoever's ass is out there because Yusuf Nurkic isn't going to be playing for them because he'll be injured. You got Jaren Jackson Jr., who can average 18 points a game, and he's going to whoop whoever's he's going up against. And then you put Dylan Brooks on Damian Lillard. Why can't Dylan Brooks play as good defense on Damian Lillard like he did on Steph?
Did with Curry, yeah.
So
no, that's a really good point. You're making me like.
And then The
leaving to Memphis.
Pelicans,
Yeah.
I have a lot of faith in them. I'm a Bayern Pelicans. I think they could next year, if they find a good coach here in the offseason, you can't deny the talent of Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. And if they retain Lonzo Ball, a guy who's become a really good scorer in the last couple of months at the end of the season, I think they could contend. I think Portland might win that series, but I think it's a lot closer than you may think.
Yeah. Yeah. New Orleans is super frustrating because I think they clearly have the defensive talent. I mean, Lonzo's already shown it. I think Zion could. I mean, his athleticism. There's no reason why he shouldn't be at least a decent defender
And
at
strength.
best. Strength. He's super quick, vertical. Same with Brandon Ingram. I mean, yeah, he's very skinny, but I mean, even he's really long. Pause. He's quick.
Jackson Hayes.
Yeah, Jackson Hayes protecting the
Nikhil
rim.
Alexander Walker.
Yeah, like this team, competent coaching. Okay, well, let's ask that real quick. Let's make that an unofficial question. Like, who do you want to see like the Pelicans head coach be?
What was it? We just lost who's the candidate? Didn't Rick Carlisle just go to the Pacers? And then
Yeah, Carlisle's out, Billups is out.
and then you said Chauncey's out, Billups out.
Kids out.
Kids out. I'm trying to think who would be D'Antoni, maybe. I don't know. Maybe give D'Antoni another coaching shot. I mean, Lonzo can finally shoot now, so it wouldn't ruin his system. And you run that 7 seconds offense. Lonzo's your Zion. Lonzo is your Steve
They're
Nash.
young, they can do it. Yeah.
You have a much better Joe Johnson and Brandon Ingram, which was something we talked about on our Instagram. And then you have an Amari Stoudemire plus in Zion Williamson, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a scary team. I think they need a fast pace. They need to be fast. Maybe there's an assistant out there that I don't know of that would be perfect for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if they're not going to play any defense, then why not just go all out on balls to the wall on offense?
Dream scenario, bring them back. Warriors coach who brought us to where we had to be, handed it off to Steve Kerr, Mark Jackson. Get him out the booth. Get him out the booth, baby.
I understand with Mark because like he was like they were really good when he was coaching, but I don't know, I think there was a lot of stuff like behind the scenes with Mark. I don't know like all the full details. It's just like little snippets here and there, but I think it was like a tad weird behind the scenes. But I feel like Mark Jackson, like for what he did with that Warriors team, like on paper should at least like he deserves like at least another shot somewhere. I just don't know like behind the scenes if it's like the best fit. We'll see. But I'm here for that too because I mean he proved it. I mean he went like he took a young team in the Warriors that had a ton of potential and he led them to great surprising run that first year and then battled the Clippers who I think were should have ended up in the finals that year really or at least like the next year like the Clippers like championship aspirations and the Warriors took them to 7. So I like that. I also really like if the Bucks would have lost against the Nets, I think this guy would have become available. I actually would really like to see Budenholzer on this team because, Budenholzer, obviously, the Pelicans, it's not like they're in championship, win now mode, which, Budenholzer, we've seen isn't really that guy, even though, he might end up getting a ring this year. With Budenholzer, it's like, that like, not really going to make those, playoff adjustments, but you're not here for that. Budenholzer's a great coach that can elevate talent. And, we saw in the regular season, he's had a, incredible amount of regular season success. I think that, he would really help develop, the young guys that the Pelicans have. I love I like the Mark Jackson pick as well. Budenholzer. I would have.
Dave Yeager.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wait, Yeager's an assistant somewhere, right?
But assistants always can get hired as new ones.
I know, but I was just asking what where I just saw him. Where is he assistant for?
No idea.
Sixers. He's on the Sixers staff. Yeah, Yeager would be great. Just like a coach that's like proven himself like with a young team. Like I think that's exactly what they need. I like that D'Antoni pick though. D'Antoni, that would be fun.
Hey, why not bring Terry Stotts on? maybe just try him for a year or two.
Yeah, because I mean, like I agree that Terry Stotts was a little overrated, but at the end of the day, like he coached, he was consistently like 45 to 50 wins like every year. I mean, obviously yeah, Dame, but like still a like respectable, solid coach. Yeah, I like that too.
Wait, hold on.
Anything else?
Trying to see if there's any other coaches here. I'm just going through it real quick.
Billups would have been good. I know he's on the Blazers now.
Steve Clifford's, but no, actually, no, I don't think that would work. Not
Harvey just wants to see Dame run it back one more year with Billups and just to see, if there is any improvements there. And then if there isn't, then it'd be time to go. But
I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? We'll see. We'll see very shortly, though.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, well, like I want to see Dame in a new environment. I'm not sure if it'll happen yet, but maybe by next year, like this time, I think should be gone. Yeah. And then our final question, dark horse pick for wide receiver 1 and RB1 in fantasy football. Fantasy football, it's creeping up. Like I need that so bad. It's slowly and steadily. We're getting closer and closer to fantasy football season. So yeah, I got some guys who are kind of dark horse, but also like easily see it. But who'd you have for your wide receiver 1 dark horse pick? I already know who your dark horse RB1 is, which we saw on the Insta post. But
yeah. I made sure to keep him out, though. I would have thrown him in there, but I got 2 guys that I think that could finish as wide receiver 1 in fantasy. I wouldn't say 2 dark horse, but we'll start off in Washington.
That's how my guys are. It's like they're already really good, but like you wouldn't expect them with like
they're not top 5 guys though. But yeah. I'm taking Terry McLaurin out of Washington. They got a gunslinger in Fitzpatrick. I love my boy Terry. I think he's the 3rd best wide receiver in that class, though. Like, give props to DK Metcalf as due. But this boy Terry, he's got a quarterback now, so he can finally show that, like, maybe the quarterback was the problem. And a guy in Ryan Fitzpatrick who ain't afraid to throw it downfield. We saw what he did in Miami, down in South Beach. He was slinging the ball, and who it wasn't. And that's the reason why a lot of Dolphins fans got mad, because he wasn't, scared. He was throwing the ball. And I think Terry McLaurin's a guy, he's got speed, he's got route running, he's got the whole package to him. He can contested catch. He's a guy who should be going for 1,300 yards. He should be going for 8 touchdowns, should be having 100 receptions. He's a guy I like. And then another guy, you might take this guy as well. Jose's going to love this pick out of Dallas. It's CDTD Lamb. This man was on a historic path going for
1.
Yeah, dude. He was projected 1,350 yards with Dak Prescott at quarterback. The projection way he was going, he's this man's number 1 target, not Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is obviously a more better wide receiver in terms of route running and stuff, but this man is going to prove why. As much as I love Ayuk, that he's better than Ayuk. So those are my wide receivers. Then we'll move on to RBs. But what you got to say?
Yeah, the only thing with CD, I completely agree with everything you said about CD. Just the fact that they also have like Amari on that team, and like that like they gotta feed him, because I think CD, like they want to prove why they like spent that 1st round pick on CD, so they're gonna force feed him the ball, and obviously he's extremely talented. I was heavily considering Terry. Like I was like this close to choosing Scary Terry too, for all the reasons you said. Just getting a guy in Ryan Fitzpatrick, who, not afraid to just hawk it downfield whenever. And Terry's, one of the best, deep ball threats out there. I'm taking a guy that was, like you mentioned, another guy in that draft class. I'm going with AJ Brown, who, Julio is, definitely an upgrade from Corey Davis. And, because you can't double either of them. You can't double AJ Brown now because you have Julio Jones on the other side. And I think Julio, who, obviously might hurt that production a little bit, just because he's going to get his. I think just the fact that, you can't double him. And I mean, this guy, he had 7 games with over 20 fantasy points last year. He missed a few games and he still finishes like wide receiver 9. And I think just having Julio on the other side to alleviate that pressure, it's like, pick your poison, man. And I think, just the fact that this guy, this guy had so many crazy games. And also I think that, the Titans are going to unleash a little bit more. Just the fact that, not only do they have Julio now, but they got a guy who I think is, dark horse wide receiver one, AJ Brown. They're not going to have to use Henry as much. They can save his legs, a little bit more for the playoffs. And I think they're going to air it out a little bit more, especially in the regular season. So I like AJ Brown, but Terry, I was like this close to choosing Terry too. He was like my honorable mention because I love that pick as well, and I think is a steal for his ADP where he's going in mock drafts right now. Steal for sure.
Man, I'm going to be sweating it come season for draft. I've been doing way too many mocks. I don't know what I want to
receivers.
I don't know what I want to do with my team. I'm so confused. I would take Scary Terry as my wide receiver one because you could get him in the third, fourth round. And probably fourth round. Yeah. I'd take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, fourth round. I know.
Oh.
Ben, who'd you pick for RB1?
We going down to South Beach. You're going to think this is crazy. I'm taking Myles Gaskin, a guy with a lot of potential, especially with Tua Tagovailoa being his quarterback. Obviously, we got deep threats in Will Fuller. Guys
He's
like
going to be a PPR monster.
Gesicki and Devontae Parker that can go crazy. But, man, I'm taking Myles Gaskin. He gets a lot of receptions. He's not the most talented runner, but a more improved offensive line. I got to run with him. But, hey, another guy who could pull it off too. I know I'm giving 2 picks for each. Travis Etienne out of Jacksonville. This guy, I'm seeing the mold. They're talking about how he's Alvin Kamara 2.0. They got their what's his name? Latavius Murray in James Robinson. This guy's going to go for 60 plus receptions and 150 plus carries in Travis Etienne. And why isn't Trevor Lawrence going to want to throw the ball downfield to this guy if he's playing? If he's throwing putting minicamp time at wide receiver, why is he not going to be talented? I think he's going to be the most dynamic player in fantasy this year, and people are going to be fighting the trade for this guy because regardless if he doesn't finish, he probably isn't going to finish at wide receiver. I mean, RB1. It's a stretch. I think he's an RB10, like up there in the RB10 territory if he plays to how he should be.
Yeah, just the only thing that scares me is just there was I think Urban Meyer came out and said that they drafted him. He's going to be like a third down back, and it's like why would you limit him to just third down back? I mean, obviously, like you said, James Robinson kind of like that, bruising RB, but I love Etienne's potential and the fact that it's you're pairing him with Trevor Lawrence, that's his guy. I like that, and Gaskin too. Just the fact, I think Gaskin, you definitely have to upgrade him. Just the fact that the Dolphins didn't do anything in the draft, or they haven't done anything yet in free agency to get a running back that's really going to compete with a Gaskin. And so I do like that pick. I love Gaskin where he's going too, because I mean you could probably get Gaskin in sixth round. I love him. I also love Kareem Hunt, who I don't really understand why he's fallen so much, why he went down like 20 spots from where he was going last year, when I don't think his situation is going to change at all. He's the greatest handcuff in the league by far, like one of, if not the greatest handcuff in the league. And he's still, getting a ton of receptions, still getting a little bit of rushing. I mean, him and, Chubb, who I'm about to mention for my dark horse, I mean, they're a great pairing, but Chubb is my dark horse just because I think the path for him to potentially get, RB1 or an RB, top 5. Yeah.
I love him. I love Nick Chubb. I'm taking him top 5.
Dude, Chubb, I would go, I think, Kamara, Cook, CMC, and Henry. And then past those 4, I think the next guy I would take would either be Chubb or Travis Kelce. I would take Chubb 5, and I would have no problem with that. I think, in PPR, maybe might be a little bit tougher, but if you're in a non-PPR league, oh my gosh, you have to upgrade Chubb. I think, like I was mentioning earlier, I think the pathway for him getting to the spot would be having a Derrick Henry style season where he's going for 1,500, 2,000 yards. I mean, this guy was a touchdown monster, even though he missed 3-4 games. He still had 12 touchdowns. I think this guy could it would not shock me if this guy had 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns, because this offense is made for him. And I think he is really the focal point of this offense. It's a run heavy team with a great offensive line. Their defense is great, and I think this is going to be a winning team. There's going to be a lot of time for him to run. I mean, obviously they're going to be up in a lot of games, so obviously they're going to be running, and just the fact that it's a run-heavy team, like I love Chubb this season. I love Chubbs. What can I say?
I mean, hey, you got to look at it. I mean, let me do some math real quick. He was averaging 88 yards a game. Let's say he played 16 games. He was having 1,400 yards last year, and he had 12 TDs. He missed 4 games, guys. You got to remember that. And he's sharing a backfield. I mean, obviously, the backfield situation is not going to change, but this guy's a monster. I mean, part of one of the most, ridiculous running back groups we've seen in a while in terms of NFL production in Georgia. Sony Michel, DeAndre Swift, and Nick Chubb. Man, that was crazy. So really hoping for Chubb. I got to root with this. I mean, I can't go wrong. That I love Chubb so much. I don't know how his ADP is like 12. Like that's bullshit.
Yeah, I think it's a travesty that he's like being paired with like Cam Akers. Well, I really actually do like Cam Akers. I just don't like him.
Not even near Chubb.
Yeah, I don't like him I don't like him in the same area as Chubb. I am more bullish on Cam Akers though, just because I think he could, easily fill. I think he's that talented where he could fill in that Todd Gurley role that they've been, desperately, missing the last couple of years. But yeah, I love Chubb. I really like Gaskin too. Gaskin is such an ADP steal. Oh my God.
But hey, I mean, honestly, I was the one on the Instagram that posted about the OPOY. I love Austin Eckler though. This man's going crazy. Him and Chubb. I'm taking them in the first round no matter what. If one of them falls to me, like if I'm not in the top 3, 4, if I'm not in top 4 range, I'm taking Austin Eckler or Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I mean Eckler, like he has like that CMC potential. Like he's gonna, like obviously I think the Chargers are gonna be like a pass heavy, like very pass heavy team. So, but I mean, he's a pass heavy back, and he's also getting all the carries now. Now that Melvin Gordon's been out, I don't know. Yeah, I love Eckler too, and it was disappointing. I mean, last year just tough with injuries, but I mean when he did play, he was really really good still. So I love Eckler too. Like in that range, like I love like Chubb and Eckler stand out the most. I mean Jones a little bit too because Jones has been consistent the last couple of years, but I just with Rodgers it's just kind of a big red flag. You're just not really sure, but yeah, I like
yeah.
him.
I mean, Eckler had one game below 10 points because barring the week 4 game he went out, he had one game below 10 points, 18.8 points, 31.3, 23.9. And I think it's only going to go up because Justin Herbert's taking a progression. And that offensive line's nasty now. They got Rashawn Slater. They got Corey Linsley.
That's a great point.
He's going to be able to run now. He's getting about 15 attempts at the most last year. And if you can average, 4.5 yards a carry, 4 yards a carry, golden.
Yeah, because he's going to get the crazy receiving work, which even if he didn't get that much rushing work, is still very valuable in PPR. But yeah, like you said, the offensive line is big time now. They're like Herbert's guys, really, really good O-line. And yeah, like you said, 15, 20 carries. I mean, the sky's the limit for him. He's in the perfect situation. So expect a bounce back season from Eckler for sure. That's my guy too, because I stole him I think it was the year where he finished RB4. I miraculously ended up with him either off waivers or late or something, and just went off. It was so awesome. He's got a special place in my heart, yeah. But yeah, that's gonna do it for episode 11 of our Sunday Talk. Thank you so much for the questions. We had some really, really good questions this week. I went crazy on the notes because each question I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a fastball right down the middle. I was like, oh my gosh, each of these questions are so juicy. But you got anything else, my man?
Nah, I'm ready for some more content. We know what's coming out Thursday. Obviously a banger to episode. We got the whole gang back Thursday, so who knows?
Yeah, whole gang. All right. For sure, bro. All right, yeah. So without further ado, signing off. Check out Instagram though. We've been posting a ton of content. Liam's been going crazy with the graphics.
Thanks, brother.
So keep that. We have a lot of stuff coming out on there. So yeah, check us out on there, and yeah, Peace.